Hey, it's Heather with Prescriptive Living. This is where our savvy singles have been coming all year, one time a week, for tips to fail-proof their life and love. And I'm excited because tonight we're going to be talking about some new things that I've never done before. And if you want to learn more about it, stick through to the end because that's where we're going to get into it as a teaser to what those things are. If you're a man, listen up because what we're going to talk about at the end that's going to be offered is specifically for you. And I think it could be interesting. So hang tight. And then also, I am going to give an invitation for people to get very, very big insight into a raw reveal of my own life and how I'm fail-proofing life and love and what the journey has been like for me. So I'm going to talk about where you can get that information at the end as well. So I wanted to share that. That is not specifically what we're here to talk about tonight. So we are going to cover that and then I'll share those pieces at the very end, okay? So tonight is about the foundations for building on a healthy, beautiful partnership. There are a lot of things I talk about in these videos that help set people up for success, and the things also, the exposure to some of the things that can get people in trouble if they're not equipped and prepared. But tonight I'm just going to hit on two foundational pieces that are super important to be understood and nurtured consistently to build a good relationship. Without these two things in place, the relational quality is nowhere near what it should be and can be with these two things being able to be done well. Okay, so what are these two magical foundational pieces that are required for a beautiful, vibrant relationship? The first is trust, and the second is communication. These are the building blocks for relational stability. Now, there's a lot more that goes into having a really wonderful partnership, right? It's being able to understand one another and the differences and align well on the majors that make or break a relationship, and to nurture those, to have really good skills in communication, conflict, and all of those areas and more. But the foundational building blocks are trust and communication. All right, so let's first talk about trust. Without, no matter how much a couple loves one another, no matter how excited they are about the potential of, what each person could be or the moments that they've had at different points in time, when the trust is broken, it is a place where the relationship has no grounds to build real intimacy, because nobody, in the protecting of their own security and stability, wants to really lean in to someone that they don't trust. Now, they might do it because of the attachments that they have and because they don't feel like they have anything else and all of that. But if that trust is not clearly there, it is like the foundation is very, very, very rocky and unstable. And so it becomes really important to know how to build and understand and create trust, and to understand that if that trust can't be established, that it's probably not a place that you may want to be putting your investment of your heart and life and time into if you want to have a vibrant, beautiful life and love. Untrustworthy people, having those in your inner circle, makes for a very, very, very unpleasant, foundation. And so that is uno. That is very, very important. The second is communication. And communication is one of those things where people can clearly talk about the things that are important to one another, and the things that each other are struggling with, the things that people need to work on together to build, more connection and intimacy, the things just that are going on. Being able to have wonderful conversations and connect. That's where some real connectivity and intimacy comes into place. And if people are not sharing even key parts of their life and their experience and what they're going through, maybe it's part of their personality, maybe they haven't learned how to tap into their emotions and connect, things like that, it can break down even trust because they're not being available and exposed in some of those ways that allow that connection, intimacy, and security to be built within a relationship. So being very skilled in communication and very skilled in building a solid foundation of trust. Now I want to hit on a couple of things that can sometimes block trust and block healthy communication, okay? Because I think that's important to address. And then we're going to talk about some other things. But some of the things that can break trust is if people really are not fully, if a person does not fully know themselves well, so that what they're presenting to others is not even really their truest self. They're basically being like a chameleon and adapting to whatever's around them. Sometimes it's hard to trust that because it's not that person coming through authentically. It is a portrayal of something that is, not always consistently showing up in the same fashion. It's very hard to know really what's going on underneath that person and underneath that space. So if you feel like you might be in a spot in your life where being authentic to who you are and what's important to you and building relationships in that capacity, I want to encourage you to look at the Failproof Your Life program, because that is where we do a deep dive on really getting to understand all of the aspects of self that make you tick, the things that make you, erupt, the things that you enjoy, the things you don't enjoy, the things that you're really maybe on more of one end of a spectrum than the other. So not so much in a balanced state, but there's a strong wane to one side of a thought, belief, personality side that is, something that's going to have a little bit more intensity attached to it, especially if you're around people who are on the opposite end of that spectrum. Like really being able to have that type of understanding allows you to know thyself and be thyself in a very real way. And that is a beautiful place to be able to build a really good, trusting relationship because it's real, it's authentic, it's exposed as it really is. And it allows for relationship to be built on loving the person for who they are, because that is known and understood and celebrated. So that's one piece, and that can be a big reason why. On the communication, sometimes part of what we're going to be talking about tonight is this program for men, because with men, communication, and especially tied into like emotions and feelings and those, soft, fuzzy, goofy things, sometimes can be very difficult for men to tap into and understand, because men for many centuries really didn't have to operate on that level. I mean, if you think about it, the woman's lib movement really didn't even come about until a few decades ago. So a lot of what men had to do was just provide and kind of do what they want. And women were not really valued at the same level that they are today. It is a different playing field. And the reason that people even coupled, several decades ago compared to now are very different reasons. The expectations have shifted. It is not so much about being that provider as the male role, and the woman, being the homemaker and the mother and all of those other things. The ability to provide has been on a level playing field, if people want it to be, for several decades, and it's even becoming more so common for that to be the standard. And so the expectation of what women want from men is changed. and they want somebody who's more of an equal and able to be emotionally available, because just being a provider is not really what they need anymore. I mean, I'm not saying it's not valuable. I'm not saying it's not meaningful by any stretch, but I'm just saying the game has changed. The needs have changed. The desires have changed. And so it's very important that if people haven't really nurtured understanding their emotions and being able to be clear and direct in how they feel, that requires awareness of what's going on. And that requires, the ability to boldly say it and not be afraid, because the trust has been established that, when you share something with the person you're with, they're not going to react or respond in a way that is, keeping you from being able to have that communication and that intimacy and all of those things. All of the environments we're talking about that create healthy foundations are absolutely foundations that can be built and nurtured, but they don't happen when people don't have skills in tapping into their emotions, or have avoidant personalities, or just put on a mask, or bury their head in the sand and just not deal with any of the issues around, because they don't go away. And when these things are done, it breaks trust, it breaks communication. It is how 80% of people who are in relationships end up on the isolated side of the spectrum rather than the oneness, connected, intimate side of the relational continuum. And so trust and communication are absolutely the foundational building blocks that must be there to be part of a vibrant love story. And if you're not in a place where you really know how to do that within your own life and to create that in a relationship, I want to encourage you, because it absolutely can be done, can be established, can be nurtured. And so those are some of the things that we really help build the foundations for in our Uncommon Love series, which is Failproof Life and Love. So that information, that training, all of that is available for those who are interested in learning more about it. Okay, so I want to get into this now because I started to talk about men a little bit, and just the expectation of what women sometimes need a man for and all of that. What we're going to do, we're going to offer a program, and it's going to be somewhere between an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of training just for men. And in this training, we are going to give men complete insight into how they can really know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, if the person that they're potentially considering a future and a life with is somebody who has potential to be a truly good partner, how to identify those things, how to, if they're already in a relationship, how to nurture their relationship in a way just by making a couple changes that will completely change their atmosphere inside their home, and they will get what they desire from the relationship as a result. So they will be able to navigate for success on the things that ultimately matter. We're going to give you insight that if you're single, how to align on the majors, that if you don't align on these, the exposure that you're giving yourself for risk in heartbreak, in impregnating somebody who you now have an attachment to for your whole life that is going to be potentially a dangerous person. All sorts of really catastrophic things can happen if people are choosing to trust a person for their heart, and that person is really not aligned on the majors or set up to be what could be a beautiful partnership. So we just are going to demystify the things that are danger zones and the things that are safe zones, and how to create the environment that gets you exactly what you want to have a beautiful, healthy, functional relationship with the exact skills in your tool belt to rock it. learn how to tap into the emotional aspect and be able to navigate it so that you're doing it with tremendous success. And we're going to expose also the number one thing that if a man does this can get even a resistance woman's heart to start to soften and start to pitter patter over you. So if this is interesting, men, you're going to want to stay tuned in to really Prescriptive Living's Facebook page, because that's where that offer is going to get posted on Sunday. And that is tomorrow. So it'll be in there, and eventually it'll be in the descriptions below, but it hasn't even been put out as available training yet. This is just the announcement of it, that we're going to do this 1.5 hour-ish training for men to really equip them to know beyond a shadow of a doubt how to show up and get the relationship that they want, the person that they want, and to build a beautiful partnership on with confidence. So that is what we're doing in that realm. So stay with us if you want to do that. It's going to be fun, and this is the first time we're really offering something like this, since we've been really doing a lot of our program launches as of late. The final thing I wanted to share is inside my insider group, which is the Love Movement. That is where I'm going to do a deep dive exposure of my relational journey over the past year, and really just give you a glimpse how I'm going about and doing Failproof My Life in Love, and really give you insider perspective on what's going on. So that is where you're going to get exposure to that. If you want to be part of the insider group and get some of that information, the information to join that will be in the description below as well. All right, so cheers to living and loving well. We will see you all next week, and have a beautiful life and love. See you soon. Bye.